Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Andy. How are you doing today?
Fantastic today.
Yeah.
Yes, Pastor Jeff Waterman next to me, and my name is Andy Ferguson. It's great to be with you for yet another week of our Overflow podcast.
Yeah, 31, right?
31,
There you go.
episode 31 today, and we are covering our previous Sunday's sermon, which was titled A Voice for Worry.
Yeah, are you worried about this one?
No, I'm good. No, this is going to be a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with all these episodes, and it's just a wonderful exercise in like, it gives me another reason to dive into the word a little bit more and just have another way to bear some fruit for the kingdom. How cool.
Yeah, and it's always kind of interesting because, I've done the study to get ready for Sunday, and then you kind of take that and you dive in a little deeper. So it's always interesting to see what you bring to the table for this, because I'm like, oh, what's Andy going to bring this time?
That's cool. I do have some things to bring. I'm excited for it.
I would be disappointed if you didn't.
Right. So very cool. Once again, we are closing and getting kind of close to the end of our current summer sermon series, which has been A Voice of the Heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've been enjoying it pretty well. What about you?
I've loved it. The poetry as a music kind of a guy. I love this kind of flowery, lofty language with all the metaphors and whatnot. I eat it all up, and I love the multifaceted nature that God speaks in.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed getting into some of the background of the Psalms, and we're gonna. Spoiler alert, we're going to do a little bit of that coming up this Sunday when we talk about uncertainty. But all right, who wrote this and what was going on when they wrote it and that kind of thing. So
how about that? Exactly. So Psalm 104 is titled, "O Lord my God, you are very great." How cool is that, right?
Yeah.
Right after "Bless the Lord, O my soul." This one also starts with that. "Bless the Lord, O my soul." Yeah.
Right.
And
Barak, bless.
Barak, different than the Asher, I think. Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So we have the Asher being a happy type of a blessing, and then the Barak one being more of a kneeling type of.
Kneeling, submitting, adoring.
Yeah.
So you could read this: "Adore the Lord, O my soul." Right?
Yeah. Yep. So this one actually doesn't quite say if it's like from the sons of Korah or Asaph or anything, but
yeah, that's part of the thing with this. Nobody knows exactly for sure who does it. A lot of people think it's a David psalm, a Davidic psalm, because of language and structure and things like that. But it unfortunately doesn't say it. So we just it's a God psalm.
We
How
get
about
to
that?
see
God wrote
all
it.
about it. There you go.
God wrote it.
Of course he did. Absolutely. So this past Sunday, what we were diving into was some different names of God and how if we focus on the names of God, that can really give us some strength or clarity or confidence in times of worry.
Yeah. I like when you said in times of worry, because we're told not to fear and not to worry a lot, but God says, why worry about tomorrow? Today's got enough worries of its own. But we all worry about tomorrow and next week and next month and next year and what happens when, right? I mean, there's some struggle with it more than others for sure, but we all. I like when I ask the question, did anybody ever worry? People just laugh. Like, of course we worry.
Exactly.
Like what do you? To worry is to be human, I think.
It is
right?
human nature in a way. Yeah, for sure.
When you have kids, you worry about, can I feed them? Can I house them? Can I clothe them? When you buy your first house or your first car or any major movement in your life, you're like, oh no, can I do this? And you start worrying about it. And then maybe something's coming up this weekend.
Right.
That might cause you to worry about something.
Yeah.
Or,
that dang human nature. And I guess that is really then part of that suppression of the truth. And it's the sinful nature that we just it's inherent within us that makes us either doubt or a lack of faith about certain things, or just have pretty much a wrong perspective on what really is, who is God and what can he do?
I think it's really helpful too. This just came to my mind. I think it's really helpful too to understand what's going on. There is an opposer, there is an oppressor that is trying to divert or obstruct our relationship with God. That's what the evil one is doing. He comes to steal, to kill, and destroy, right? And so the way he does that, I think, is tap into our limited understanding, our mortality, our finiteness. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in 10 minutes. I don't know what I'm going to say in 10 minutes, let alone what's going to happen in the world, right?
Right.
And so there's some innate worry. So you get these little whispers in your ear of, hey, you're not going to have enough skill to do this. You're not going to have enough money to feed your kid. You're not going to have enough resource to do this, that, or the other. And so that derails us. And I think what God does here in the Psalms, particularly Psalm 104, is he's trying to help us when we get to those points to step back and identify the lie and replace it with the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a father of lies that is trying to disrupt us all the time.
Yeah, you're right about that. It made me think, did Jesus worry? And he didn't, because he had complete faith. He knew, okay, he's my father. He's going to take care of everything else like that. He had maybe some concern, in the garden as he prayed, and my goodness, blood,
Right.
sweat coming out of him. That seems like worry to me in a way, but
Was he worried? Or
Right,
was
yeah,
he knew what was coming and
yeah,
he's like,
oh,
I don't want to go through this,
it's gonna be
right?
rough. Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah, I think for me, worry, at least the way I understand it, worry happens, and that's why we linked it with this week is uncertainty coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get worried about things that we are not sure how or if they're going to work out.
Yep.
Right? It's hey, I'm getting ready to do this. I'm not sure about all the details, and so that creates
Mm-hmm.
worry. Like, have I covered everything?
Yeah.
Particularly when you're entering into something new. Like, hey, I'd get as a pastor, I get to do a lot of weddings, and so there's always some level of angst for people that are new marrieds or going through this the first time, and part of it is the unknown. Like, I don't know what it is to be married to this person. I know what it means to be dating,
Yeah.
but man, marriage takes on a whole new ball of wax. So
Yeah.
I think there's uncertainty that leads to worry.
Yep, for sure. Speaking of marriage and whatnot, today I'll just declare it. It's my 5th year anniversary with my wife.
Hey,
Yeah.
congratulations, Chelsea and Andy. Good
Yeah,
job.
thanks. Yeah, 5 years. Yeah,
5 years, you
exactly.
made it.
Right. Kind of like what you said last week's episode where, hey, that's a good start.
That's a good start.
It
That's
is.
a good start.
5 years is a good start. That's a long time to be. It's probably I think it is my longest relationship I've ever had with any single person so far.
All right.
Anybody. And, well, it's going to go the rest of our lives. So that's just a crazy
Exactly.
thing to think about.
You will be related to Chelsea for the rest of your life. That's
Yeah.
so, yeah. And Chelsea, you. So I don't know who to pray for more.
That's right. Well, very good. And speaking of our quirks and whatnot, and how weird I might be, I do have a thing to bring to the table
Okay,
about
good.
today's Psalm
Yes.
104, which is it's interesting how it's been created in such a way where we have the creation day accounts in there.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. And so we're speaking of the different names of God. I did a little bit of a deeper search or research in there. I'm like, what would be the name? So I'll just preface by saying we're going to be talking about the name El Shaddai. We're going to be talking about Jehovah Jireh, El Roi or Roy, I don't know, and then Yahweh, what that means. So I was like, okay, what would it be if it was like God the Creator or Maker of heaven and earth? Because as we're talking, this goes through the creation days here. That would be like perhaps Elohim, which is exclusively used as a name for God and the Trinity of God in Genesis account. Or the other word for that would be like Boreh, B-O-R-E-H. So like Yahweh Boreh or Elohim Boreh, God the Creator, one who creates, maker of heaven and earth.
Yeah.
What a powerful name.
Yeah. Yeah. I love where we went to Job on Sunday, and just where we're told that the creation, all of that was a whisper to God. Like, he's so
Yeah.
powerful, he doesn't even have to raise his voice for
Mm-hmm.
creation to be put into place, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't even have to yell, "Let there be light." He just says, "Yeah, let there be light," and
Yeah.
it happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, again, this is great power that God has, and if that's the power He has, what am I facing that He can't handle?
Yeah, exactly. God doesn't ever need to show off, but I love when he does.
Yeah.
And in Job, when he's like, "Well, do you know the gestation period of a deer?"
Right.
It's like, "Do you know all these things? Have you
Right.
been to this place?"
Yeah.
Whoever wrote Job was a very well-traveled person, because they had to be able to write about
Right.
this
Right.
stuff. And it's amazing.
I love. Did you stretch out the measuring tape and measure the
Yeah,
earth? And did you do all that stuff? No.
yeah,
No.
crazy
Don't
stuff.
want to toot my own horn, but I'm gonna toot my own horn real
Right.
quick. Right.
And I'm like, this is so cool. Go get him.
Yeah.
That's amazing stuff. So go
And
ahead.
if you think about it, though, if we don't have that language,
Mhm.
if God doesn't reveal that to us, then yes, we're left questioning. Well, is this something that God can't handle, or is this something that is bigger than what God brings to the table?
Mhm.
So unless he does a little what we would call showing off or I don't know, bragging or whatever,
Mhm.
yeah, if he doesn't do that, we don't know. And then if we don't know, it just adds to our uncertainty and our worry and our anxiety, right?
How about that?
So if he's telling us not to fear, he's giving us, well, why shouldn't you fear? Well, because guys, listen, everything you see that you think is a big deal,
Mhm.
it's just but a whisper to me.
Yeah, so cool. Peace, be still. That's so cool.
Yeah.
There's actually an interesting thing about that story. So, the disciples are crossing the sea, and Jesus is asleep in the hull of the
Right,
ship.
right.
The whole thing is going crazy. That whole storm, and there's the connection between that and Jonah. I don't know if you realize. I'm sure you did, but so Jonah's in the boat and he's asleep in the hull of this ship, and the sailors, they come down to him like, "Yo, wake up! Or we're gonna die. You got to pray to your God." And literally, that's what the disciples or the apostles are saying to Jesus. "Yo, wake up! Aren't you afraid we're all gonna die?"
Right.
And they go to get God.
Right.
And so I just love that correlation. And Jesus is like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you the sign of Jonah." Of course, he's talking about being buried and then resurrected, but there's that double again, like that multifaceted language right there.
Yeah, and again, God's got to show us that whatever we face, he's bigger than, right? And
Yes.
so in the midst of that storm, why is he at peace?
Right.
Because he knows he's not going to die.
Mhm.
He's hanging on to a promise because he knows he's going to make it to the cross. So
Yeah.
today ain't the day.
That's right. It's not today, and it's not from something that I have control over.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
the
all right,
storm.
knock it off.
Yeah, for real.
Right.
Which leads us to, of course, the first name that you referenced on Sunday. So if you're saying, God is this all-powerful thing, yes, he is. He is all-powerful, almighty, God of the mountain. We're talking about El Shaddai.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you like to say anything about that?
I mean, I think we've been talking about it. We referenced where it comes from with the picture of the Hebrews coming out of Egypt, the Israelites, right? And they're at Mount Sinai. And the picture when Moses goes up there it's wrapped in smoke, and there's
Yeah.
lightning, and there's fire, and there's rumbling, and the mountains are trembling.
Mhm.
And Moses says, "Yeah, I got to go up there." I mean, what a display of power that God has, right?
Yeah.
And I always laugh. So what did they do in response after Moses has been up there for 40 days? Let's build a gold calf. It's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, did you just not see what
Exactly.
happened,
In that account in Exodus, it's actually 3 moons after they had left Egypt. So 3 months had passed. It's like not that much time after literally they followed God as a pillar of fire, as a cloud of smoke, the whole deal. The mountain is trembling in his presence.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in the fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think of that, right? So we're in August right now, so let's dial back 3 months. So July, June, May. So in May, we would have been brought out of Egypt in a very miraculous way, right? With all those plagues.
Yep.
And
through the
then
sea.
we get to the Red Sea, and we watch Moses raise his staff, the sea part.
Yeah.
We walk through. Could you imagine walking through an ocean?
Nope.
Like, I wonder what that would look like, right? Like walking through a sea. I don't care if it's, 30 or 40 feet deep. You got these walls of water. It says they walked across on dry land. It wasn't even muddy.
Yeah.
So they walk across. The moment they get across, the Egyptian army comes in, and then the waters swallow them up.
Yeah. And they have
That-
issues with the mud, actually.
And yeah, they get caught, right, in the mud. So in May, you see that.
Crazy.
And now you're like, let's make a calf.
Right. And hasn't he been giving them bread from heaven?
Yeah, man has been coming every day. And
Right.
But we look at the Israelites, and we make fun of them at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But just step and I go, well, what was I doing in May?
Yeah.
Like, I've already forgot most of May,
Mm.
unless I'm intentional about going back and reminding. And I think that's what God is doing here.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
being very intentional to go back and say, I get it. You're going to forget. I get it. You're going to get caught up in what's going on today. You're going to get caught up in what's going on tomorrow. I think that's why Jesus is saying, why are you worrying about tomorrow? Today's got enough worry of its own. We get caught up in that, and he's trying to bring us back to remember. That's why Jesus says, hey, when you take the body and the blood at communion, do this and remember this. Let this be a trigger for you. When the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, he says, go back and set up these pillars of stone so that when you're walking by the river and your kids say, what's that about?
Exactly.
You can, it triggers a memory so you remember who God is.
Yeah, absolutely.
El Shaddai.
El Shaddai, God of the mountain. And that leads into him being capable to provide for anything.
Right.
God, the
Jehovah
provider,
Jireh.
Jehovah Jireh, exactly. God will provide. The Lord sees and fulfills your needs. You mentioned worry creates feelings of inadequacy, and yet Jehovah Jireh breeds confidence.
Right.
Yeah, we have confidence. It's comforting to know of that name and to be able to, in our prayer life, say, okay, God, I'm worried about most often it'll be finances. I'm worried about finances, and God, you're going to provide. I'm worried about food, and you're going to provide. And well, it leads him to, if he's providing and he's all powerful, he's also aware of your needs.
Right.
He sees you.
He sees you.
He hears you.
Yeah. The word, when we look in Genesis, when Abram is sacrificing Isaac, that's where we went. That word there is rooted in the idea of see, that God will see the need. And then because he sees it, he will provide it. I talk to a lot of people, men in particular, as they're trying to create this work-life balance, right? That's a word, that's a phrase we use, this work-life balance. And there's this call to be a godly dad, a godly man. But there's this pressure in our world to be like this corporate ladder ascending individual, and kind of the man's got to sell out to corporate America or sell out to their job or whatever. And then they get it and they feel this tug, right? And I'll be talking to them about different things, and they'll say, well, I can't do that because if I do, I'll lose my job. Or my job will be affected, and then I won't be able to provide the money or the things that they need. And you hear that shift in thinking that, hey, I care more. I'm more concerned about what's going to happen in my job than I am about doing what the Lord, El Shaddai, Jehovah Jireh, is asking of me, trusting that he is all powerful, and because of that, he will provide.
Yeah.
So there's this sense of, I think particularly for men, we have this responsibility to provide. And we do. I mean, we should be working hard. We should be the hardest workers on the planet, right? But at the same time, we have to do it in a way that says, but wait, the ultimate provider, the person that provided me the job, and if he provided me this job, he'll provide for me the next job, and the next job, and the next job. My responsibility is to be the man for my wife and my kids that I need to be first.
Yep. And a vessel that is used by God regardless of the circumstance, because we're called to be ambassadors of his kingdom. And that comes from this realization that everything that you have, everything that you own, your skills, your talents, your mind, everything that you are has all been gifted by God, and it belongs to him anyways. So it's like he's taking care of his own stuff.
Yeah, like if he's El Shaddai, the job you have is not a big deal to him, right? And getting another job is not a big deal to him. And oh, by the way, he gave you that job in the first place. Yeah. It's his job. He owns it. He owns all the money. You don't own anything. You just get to manage it.
Right.
Once you come to that perspective, you can press in.
Yep, exactly. I believe it's in 1 Corinthians 3 where Paul is speaking of the people like, you've got nothing to boast about because it doesn't belong to you.
Right.
It was all his, and it's all from him and for him and through him.
But often we'll use this phraseology like, look at the life that I've made. Look at the life that I've built for myself and my family. Like, understanding Jehovah Jireh, our language would be, look at the life God has entrusted to me to steward on his behalf.
Exactly. Exactly. So that brings us to if we're stewarding it and he sees us, that's El Roy, El Roy, El Roy. It's L-E-L and then R-O-I. However, I got to learn some Hebrew, I guess. I got to learn
Yeah,
how to
right.
speak Hebrew. That'd be awesome.
There you go. You know how to speak Spanish, so Hebrew's really close, right?
Yeah, sure. So that's the next language for me. So on Sunday, though, you did bring up a story about Hagar and her son Ishmael.
Yeah.
And so Hagar's the servant of Sarai.
Right.
What was going on there, and how can we connect some dots?
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about Abraham and Sarah, or Abram and Sarai.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty familiar with that, and Isaac, and then Esau and Jacob, and then the 12 kids of Jacob, Joseph and and the Technicolor Dreamcoat and that whole story, right?
Yep.
But a lot of times we reference Hagar, and we reference her always with failure. At least I see that. Like, that was a failure in Abram and Sarai's relationship, right? This lack of trust in what God was doing. So they take matters into their own hands. And Sarai says, go ahead and have a child with my maidservant. And I say this, and I'm going to do it a reminder again. Guys, if your wife ever says have a child with another woman, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Doesn't work. Never works.
Right.
Even all these people that have multiple wives in the Bible, there's always problems.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So there's a reason that, marriage is one man, one woman. That's just kind of the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're always see this gal, this lady in light of failure. But God does an amazing thing in Genesis chapter 16. So she gets pregnant, right? Sarai says to Abram, all right, go do this. And Abram says, fine, that's cool. And so he does. And then it says that Sarai was not happy because now she's jealous, right?
Of course, yeah.
Duh. I could have told you that, and I'm not even El Shaddai, Jehovah Jireh. I'm just a dude, right? But so now Hagar gets pushed out, and she's feeling alone. And it says in verse 7 of 16, and the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness. The spring is on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? She says, I'm fleeing from my mistress Sarai. The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her. I will surely multiply. The angel of the Lord said to her, I will surely multiply your offspring, so they cannot be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you are pregnant. You shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has listened to your affliction. And then later down, she says, all this happened. She says, so she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, you are a God of seeing. For she said, truly, here I have seen him who looks after me. And therefore the well was called Ber Lahai Roi. It lies between Kadesh and Beral. What a beautiful picture that even in the midst of our failure, right? Even in the midst of Abram and Sarai's failure. I mean, in one way you could say, all right, Hagar, why didn't you just say, no, I'm not doing this? She wasn't in a position to do it. God just doesn't see the failure of Abram. He sees the results of that failure. And he sees the situation she's in. And the redeeming God is going to redeem her even in her distress.
Yep.
And here's a little teaser. Coming to Problem or Promise in the fall, we're probably going to see a little bit more of Hagar so that we can unpack a little bit more about who she is and what God does in her life.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice teaser right there. So just to kind of clarify for those who may not know, pretty soon we're going to be shifting to our new sermon series in the fall that leads us towards our Advent series, and it'll be titled Problem or Promise. Which one are you going to focus on, basically?
Right. Yeah.
So the problem, we're in the wilderness, we're going to die, and the promise, well, actually, I'm going to be multiplying your lineage and so on.
So you're going to see that a lot. But Hagar, I just love that picture of any. Obviously, there was a promise to Abram and Sarai, and Abram and Sarai took matters into their own hands. The promise wasn't made to Hagar. She could have been a innocent casualty. She could have just been a casualty of bad decisions.
Yep.
But God still sees her. No one's so insignificant that God doesn't see them and see where they're at.
Yeah.
I think that is so powerful because sometimes we just, particularly in our worry, we feel alone.
Yeah.
And when we remember, hey, God is almighty, right? All right, that's easy to grasp. Well, it's easy to kind of believe. Then he's Jehovah Jireh. He's going to provide. Oh, okay, it's getting a little bit harder. But now this great almighty God, he sees me.
Yeah. Ooh, I get kind of chills
Right.
just thinking about
in
that.
the midst of all the stuff where I don't feel seen, he sees me.
Yeah. It's powerful and beautiful. And as we're talking about worry, what we're going to be looking into, especially with that specific story there of Hagar and her son, I encourage you guys to look into it and read. You can read ahead. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. But what we find time and time again throughout Scripture is God allows us to get to our point of being broken, where we can't do it on our own. Literally, not by the might of our own hands will this thing be possible, and that's when God shows up.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking into that. Very good here. So we've got, yes, Yahweh, the Lord, Yod-He, Vod-He, Yod-He, Vod-He.
Yod-He, Vod-He.
Yes. Right?
Yeah. When you say those in Hebrew, it just sounds like you're. Yeah. Just take a breath.
Yeah.
We were in Mexico not too long ago, and I was a little anxious about coming back across because the border is just kind of a crazy thing, and I'm trying to line everything up, and I was worrying, and someone in the group says, God's going to work it out, and it was just this, yeah, He's bigger than the border. He's promised to provide for us. He sees exactly who we are and what's going on.
Yeah. Peace.
Rest
beyond
in that.
natural understanding.
Yeah. Yep.
That is so good. Speaking of that, and in getting peace in times of worry, and how do we practically utilize these names of God in our prayer life, in our day-to-day life? Just this morning, right? I was on the way to work here, and I'm thinking ahead about upcoming travel and trips and the logistics and nuances, and it's like, oh my goodness, I could easily have gone to a place of anxiety and worry, and I literally was like, okay, I said, God, you are El Shaddai. You are all powerful. This is nothing to you, Right. And what you have to do, guys, out there is call and label out the names of the Lord and think of his promises, bring them to remembrance, think of the things that he's done, and say, okay, God, you got me. So I'm asking for your spirit of peace to come on me, and so on and so forth. And that's like the application. Do you have maybe a story or one like that? I don't know.
Just like what I said about Mexico is, hey, just come back. The border is your travel plans and all the details. God's bigger than that. That's not a big deal to him. He sees what you need.
Exactly.
He knows what's coming, and he's promised to provide for you. And he sees you individually. He sees Chelsea, sees Sage. And so rest in this God that that doesn't just want to be known about, but he wants to be known. That's why he gives him that personal name. So I think I love your phrase, calling out the name. You are El Shaddai. You are Jehovah Jireh. Yeah. You are El Roi.
You see me.
Yahweh.
Right. It's so good. Well, we're looking forward to our upcoming weekend then. This coming Sunday, A Voice for Uncertainty.
Yeah.
Diving into Psalm 46, God is our fortress.
How
about that?
There you go.
Our strength and our refuge in times of trouble.
Tune in on Sunday or show up and join us. It'd be great.
That's right.
We're going to actually have some special guests with us this weekend.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, we're going to welcome our friends Todd and Ann Zims. They're in town from Tanzania, and talk about someone that had to confront uncertainty. They packed up their family and they moved to Tanzania about 21 years ago. And that's some uncertainty right there.
Yeah.
So amazing story, amazing work that they do over there. Was there last spring, and miss all the people of Sun International, but we'll be seeing Todd and Ann this Sunday.
That's right. So definitely show up this coming Sunday. That will be August the 17th. I don't know why the date just escaped me, but our service starts here in Brighton, Michigan at our church called The Well at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
So we'll see you then.
Glad to have you.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody.
Have a great day.